We're returning to 18B 1541-1, State of Georgia versus Tiffany Moss. The defendant's present along with standby counsel. State's counsel is present as well. Ma'am, you're standing like you want to talk to me.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge. Before the jury comes in, I wanted to put on the court's radar that at some point, at the court's earliest convenience, we would need to have a very brief ex parte meeting with Your Honor. So whenever we can do it before the breakout, whenever it's the earliest convenience for the court. So I wanted to just put that on the
Okay. Can you give me some sense of the general reason for the need for that?
We need to convey to the court some things that we may not do so publicly in front of the state.
Your Honor, that's not the purpose of an ex parte hearing, first of all. And second of all, the defendant has a request for an ex parte hearing, and she is acting as her own counsel.
Your Honor, as our standby counsel, we have every right to ask for an ex parte hearing, and
I would argue that, Judge. There's no citation of authority for that. But I would argue that as her standby counsel, she does not have the right to ask for an ex parte hearing unless the defendant concurs in that.
All right. Well,
Your Honor, the citation would be McCaskill v. Wiggins, 465 U.S. 168. Also, I've discussed it with Ms. Moss, and she's authorized me to do this.
is that correct, Ms. Moss?
Your Honor, I'm not satisfied with that representation.
I'll inquire. Just have a seat, ma'am. Ms. Moss, are you aware of this request, and is it made at your behest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll return to it here when I have the opportunity to do so. One other matter that we're going to need to take up, a potential juror issue. Last night as the jurors were leaving, they apparently walked past a television that may have had some news coverage playing. This doesn't affect all the jurors, but it's my intention to bring in those that are potentially affected and ask them a few questions about what it is that they might have seen in that news broadcast as they were being escorted out of the building yesterday. We'll begin with juror. Please bring him alone in. How are you, sir?
Good.
Sir, as I understand it, as you were leaving the courthouse yesterday, you may have walked past a television that was on. Did you hear or see anything related to this case on that television?
No.
All right. Any questions?
Well, actually, I was on it was some commotion going on, and I was on my phone talking to my wife, so I didn't see what was going on.
Okay. Any questions by the state?
There we are.
By the defense? Thank you for coming, sir. Don't discuss this with your fellow jurors. Please bring me. I'm fine. As I understand it, as you were walking out of the courthouse yesterday, you might have walked past a television that was on. Did you hear or see anything connected with this case?
I mean, we just saw that it was coming on, and then he asked her to turn it off, and she was really rude for no reason. So she tried to turn it off, but no, we didn't hear anything.
Okay. Any questions by the state?
There we are.
By the defense? Thank you very much, ma'am. Don't discuss this with your fellow jurors. Please bring me Mr.
Oh yeah, it was plain view.
Okay. What did you say?
Iman, as the witness.
Okay. Was it like a television news broadcast of what occurred here in the courthouse or in the courtroom?
Yes.
So it's something you already saw live and in person, is that right?
It's something that I saw.
Is there anything else about the case that was discussed? All right. Any questions by the state?
Since you saw it live, can you put aside first of all, did you see just the video? Did you hear any audio?
It's just a video.
Okay, so you didn't hear any of the testimony, is that right?
There was noise, but I didn't hear.
Okay. And as a judge, as you've answered the judge, you heard the testimony
Yes.
here in the courtroom. And are you prepared to reach your verdict based on the testimony you heard in the courtroom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, fine, thank you. I understand as you were walked out of the courthouse yesterday evening, you might have walked past a television that was on. Did you hear or see anything connected with this case?
No, I was busy talking.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions by the state?
No, Your Honor.
By the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Thank
Yes,
What did you say?
it was a news report that stated that the father had testified this morning.
Okay. So it was something that you'd already seen here live in the courtroom, is that right?
That is correct.
Were there any additional comments other than that he had testified?
Not that I remember. What I remember about it was that the bailiff asked him to turn the TV off, and then I guess the sheriff, deputy sheriff, she got a little antsy with it. But that was what I remember most about it.
You understand that whatever you might have seen there is not evidence, and your oath requires that you decide the case based on the evidence presented here in the courtroom only. You understand that?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Any questions by the state? By the defense? Thank you very much. I'm fine, sir. Thank you for asking. I understand as you were leaving the courthouse yesterday, you might have walked past a television that was on. Did you hear or see anything related to this case?
The only thing that I hear that, when the news was going to start was just that the father was going to testify. That's all.
Okay. So something that you already saw live and in person here in the courtroom, is that right?
Yeah, and then he asked to tune it off, and she tuned it down and tuned it off. I mean, we tuned the other way anyways.
Okay.
Everybody did.
And you understand your oath requires that you make any decision in this case based on the evidence presented here in the courtroom and in the courtroom only, is that right? Okay. Any questions by the state?
No, Your Honor.
By the defense?
Okay.
As I understand it, you may have been walked out past a television that was on when you were leaving the courthouse yesterday. Did you hear or see anything connected with this case?
I saw that it came up on the news, so I looked away and did not pay attention to what was being said. In fact, I did the little la 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 la, so I wouldn't hear it. So I looked away. I knew that it was on there.
But you didn't obtain any information about this case, is that right? You understand that had you would still be making your decision based only on the evidence presented here in the courtroom, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions by the state?
No, Your Honor.
By the defense? Thank you. I understand as you were walked out of the courthouse yesterday, you might have walked past a television that was on. Did you hear or see anything connected with this case?
Just the highlight that was about this case.
Okay. What do you remember?
About what I saw on TV?
Yes.
Not much.
Okay. Was it anything that you hadn't already seen here live in the courtroom?
Nothing else.
Okay. You understand that had you seen anything else, your decision in this case could be based only on the evidence that you saw presented here in the courtroom, correct? Okay. Anything for the state?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
For the defense? Thank you, sir. Don't discuss anything on behalf of the state in connection with this in any respect?
No, Your Honor.
For the defense? Very good. The court would find that there's been no juror misconduct. The court would also find there was no improper influence on any of the jurors connected with the case and that they can all remain fair and impartial. None of that has substantially impaired their ability to continue on as jurors in this case, and each of them, to the extent that they saw or heard anything at all, understand that the decision that they would make in this case would be based only on the evidence presented in this courtroom. All right, thank you all very much. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready to proceed? Will you need the TV monitor for this first witness that you're going to call?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll turn it off then. Please bring our jury. You can be seated. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's good to see each of you. We're ready to resume with the trial of the case. Mr. Porter, call your next witness, sir.
Your Honor, the state will call investigator Chris Ford. You can take the witness stand there, Billy. If you would raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat and make yourself comfortable. If you could make sure that you speak loud enough for the jurors to hear you and everyone in the courtroom. First of all, can you tell me your name and spell your last name for the record?
Christopher Ford, F-O-R-D.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm an investigator with the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office.
And what are your duties with the Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office?
I'm a computer forensics examiner.
All right. We're going to get to your qualifications in a minute, but I want to talk about your experience. Prior to working at the District Attorney's Office, how were you employed?
With the Gwinnett County Police Department.
And what were your duties at the Gwinnett County Police Department?
I was a detective assigned to the computer forensics lab as an examiner there as well.
All right. Do you have any other prior information technology experience beside what you've just described?
Yes, sir. I have 10 years of sysadmin, network admin, server infrastructure in the corporate world.
And was that prior to you becoming a police officer?
It was in between my police officer jobs in my career, yes.
Okay. And I'd like first of all for you to talk about what type of training and education you have had that assists you or qualifies you to do your job both at the police department and in the district attorney's office.
Besides all my civilian certifications dealing with Microsoft and networks, specifically for the forensic applications, I've gone through Windows forensics, Mac forensics level 1 and 2. I do cell phone forensics. I've been to several cell phone classes. Call data mapping with towers, cell towers. Video, audio forensics. So I've been in specialty classes dealing with video and audio files and trying to recreate those. And then every year I go to at least 2 to 3 classes, just either recertifying in what I know or learning new technologies out there.
All right. Are there, first of all, are you a certified forensic examiner?
Yes, sir.
And tell the jury what it requires for you to become a certified forensic examiner.
Typically, the organization I went to, which is the IASIS organization, which is international, dealing with law enforcement certified forensic examiners, it was a 2-week course. It's then a 1-year process where you have a coach, you take monthly tests, they grade them, they certify what you're doing, you know what you're doing, and then you take a final exam with them.
Right. Are you also certified through Cellbrite to remove data from telephones?
Yes, sir.
And what does that certification require?
I've been through actually 3 Cellbrite certification courses in their classes. About every 2 years I recertify, and about every 3 to 4 years I actually go back to the class again just to get a refresher on the new technology that's come out.
All right. Tell the jury the difference between, well, let me ask you, in terms of, so are you certified to forensically examine and extract data from communication devices such as telephones?
Yes, sir.
Are you also certified to examine and remove data from computer devices?
Yes, sir.
I want to focus on the computer device. If you could tell the jury your qualifications for examining and removing data from computing devices, and give them an idea of what types of devices that you can extract data from.
Like I said, I've been through all the classes as far as extracting data from different types of devices, whether that's a laptop, a desktop computer, which is easy, or if it's a cell phone, a SIM card or SD card, extracting data from DVR systems that hold video, so security cams. So anything that holds data is what we call, even toys that hold data, Lexus devices, anything that stores a digital footprint or data, or communicates that data, including networks and routers, that stores logs, files that we can extract data from, we can gather that information. So I've been trained, certified, learned how to pull that data off and get it off in a forensic manner.
All right. Tell the jury what you mean by a forensic manner.
Forensically, what we try to do in best practices, I want to leave the data that's on the original evidence, the cell phone or the computer, exactly the way it was when it was discovered or when we seized it. So without leaving it or without changing anything, I want to extract data from it at the same time. So with computers or hard drives or flash drives or any kind of media I can hold and get a hold of, I'll use what's called a write blocker. And a write blocker is simply a device that I connect to that stops all input from the operating system of my computer going to that device. So it won't change anything. It doesn't allow any writes or reads or any changes in timestamps that it was accessed. And then I can pull that data off. in what we call an EO1 file, which is just an encrypted storage container for that data, so I can pull all that data off into another container on my hard drive of my computer, and then examine that working copy, and without fear of altering the evidence, the original evidence. So I can always go back to the original evidence and pull another copy later on if I needed to, and it would be the same both times.
All right. And is it fundamental to forensic examination that the what I call the image, the copy, is exactly as the original device or the data in the original device?
Yes, sir. We verify that.
How do you verify it?
Through what's called a hash value.
And explain what that is.
A hash value is a mathematical algorithm. So what happens is it uses a mathematical algorithm, depending on what kind of hashing that you choose to do, but it'll calculate every file on that system versus every file I pulled off that system, and it's either going to match or not match. And if it matches, I have an exact copy, a duplicate of that system.
For simple-minded technology people like me, it sounds like what you're actually doing is weighing the data, and if they weigh the same,
if they weigh the same, it has the same, what I call a digital fingerprint. So it has the same fingerprint matches on both.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, we would tender Investigator Ford as an expert in the area of computer forensics.
Any exception? He'll be so qualified.
I'd like to begin, when you were at the police department, did you have any involvement in the case that investigated the death of Imani Moss?
Yes, I did.
And at that time, where were you assigned?
In the computer forensics lab there at the PD.
And were you asked to do a voluntary download of a phone?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury how that comes to you in the lab.
In the lab, I'll either get a request or a detective will come down and say, I have a cell phone. I either have a signed consent warrant or a piece of paper from who's given us the cell phone, or I have a warrant saying, hey, I need to search this phone. So once that request comes down or that phone comes down from that detective, I take that information. I then basically make connections to what's called a Cellbrite unit, if that's the device I'm going to use to examine that phone with, which 90% of the time it is. A Cellbrite unit is simply a piece of hardware we use to connect to the phone to one side. Remember what I talked about write blockers? So it helps block that signal from me changes data on the phone. So I connected the phone to one side of this device called a Cellbrite unit, and then on the other side I have a hard drive or a flash drive where it's connected to my computer, and I extract that data from one side, the cell phone, through this device into a hard drive where I can store that data from that cell phone.
And what are the capabilities of the forensic Cellbrite? Don't commercial carriers use a form of Cellbrite when you go in and buy a new phone and have all your contacts transferred?
Yes, sir. Cellbrite, actually, the company started out working with carriers to transfer data from cell phones when you buy a new cell phone. So if you take your old cell phone in, they'll connect it to a Cellbrite unit and transfer your data to the new phone. And now we use iCloud and backups online, but back in the, in the day when we actually took our phones in, they would transfer all our contacts over for us. That's the same thing they used. And then when Cellbrite saw there was a market for a law enforcement application, they created a forensic unit to do forensic applications with.
And what are the capabilities of the forensic Cellbrite unit? What can you get?
It depends on the phone. So Cellbrite works with the phone manufacturers to pull as much data as they can with the instructions that are written in the code for the cell phones. So I can get everything, including deleted stuff sometimes off the phone, or sometimes I can only pull call logs and contacts, messages, SMS, MMS type messages, calendars, pictures, videos. It all really kind of depends on the phone extraction type.
Can you tell the jury the difference between an SMS message and an MMS message?
Sure. An SMS message is your simple texting. It stands for short messaging service. So that's basic text, nothing else. MMS is multimedia messaging service, so that's pictures, videos. Whenever you send something, as a text with a picture, it's actually sent as an MMS message versus SMS message.
Right. And when a picture or an image is sent from a phone, does it remain on the sending device?
It does unless deleted.
Right. And with the forensic Cellbrite, depending on the phone again, can you capture even deleted images?
Yes, sir.
Right. I have to show defense counsel a couple of exhibits, but Investigator Ford, I'd like to begin by showing you some items that have been previously admitted and ask you to take a look at those and see if you can identify them. You were well, specifically, while you're looking at that, and before you identify it, you said that you were involved at the police department in the investigation of the death of Amani Moss.
Yes, sir.
And we didn't go into your involvement. Can you tell the jury how you were involved in that investigation as part of the forensics lab?
Right. Detective Flynn brought me a cell phone. It was one evening, I believe November 2nd, 2013. And he asked, hey, I got the consent for this phone. I need you to download it for me. So I downloaded the phone for him with that consent.
As a forensic examiner, are you prepared to take the word of the detective that you have consent, or is there usually documentation of the consent?
Either or, so usually they'll get a signed document, or if they're there with the detective, or if they're, available, then they can tell me, hey, they gave me consent, and especially if it's on video, if they're interviewing someone.
All right. Did you then proceed to do the download of that phone?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you recall what kind of phone it was?
It was a Samsung, and the model number is SPH L710, which is a Galaxy S3.
All right. Did you? So tell the jury how you began your process, and if you could describe how that process took place.
Usually I take pictures of the phone, or I take the battery out so I can get the model number, get the exact model as far as what I'm looking at. I look up Cellbrite, and Cellbrite will give me options when I punch the model number into the unit, or if I check the list of supported devices of what kind of extractions I can perform on that device. And depending on what the consent is for. So sometimes people consent to, hey, you can pull my text messages, but I don't want you to do anything else with it. And in that case, I can just pull text messages. But once I find out what the model number of the phone is, I can make the correct connections with the cable type that's required by Cellbrite, and then I connect to Cellbrite, and then I can go through the process of extracting that data. Right. Once that data is then extracted, a lot of times it's just raw data, so it's just what's called a bin file, or a container file. So once I take that raw data, I can use Cellbrite software to then parse that data out. It'll recognize what's a text message, what's a picture, and it'll parse that out. So then us humans don't have to look at ones and zeros. We can look at pictures and text messages as we can read them.
All right, and in the course of parsing the data, do you then is that done automatically through the software?
If it's done through what we call a logical extraction, it can be done automatically, and it's created for you. If there's a file system or physical extraction, which takes more data, then I put that data that's extracted into another piece of software called Physical Analyzer that Cellbrite makes for us, and that then parses that data out for us.
All right, but the point is until the report is created, you're not changing or manipulating the data from the phone into the image that you create.
That's correct. I'm basically, once I hit start and it starts going, I'm hands off from there until it's finished.
And that includes both the logical extraction and the physical extraction.
Yes, sir.
And so in the course of this request, did you in fact do a extraction from a voluntary extraction of data from the phone? Was the owner of the phone identified to you?
I think they said it was their sister involved, Brittany, I believe her name was.
All right. Did that really make any difference to you one way or the other?
Not really. If I have a consent, or if there's a request come in, then.
All right. And so tell the jury, you start the machine, and I'm going to put this in simpleton terms for me. So you press the button and the machine starts to go. How long does it usually take to do an extraction?
And that depends on how much data is on the phone. So if the phone was a heavy use phone, there's a lot of pictures and videos, MP3s, or if it's a large phone that has a lot of storage on it, then it could take a while. But anywhere between 10 minutes to 2 hours.
All right. And so you started the extraction. Did you actually capture the data off of the phone?
Yes, I did.
And did the hash values match up so that you were confident that you had an exact match on your image?
They did, yes.
what would have happened if they didn't match?
If they don't match, then I have to see if there was a failure in the extraction. Sometimes in the report, the log files will report, hey, I was able to pull all this data except for the calendars, didn't pull for whatever reason. And then we have to just account that, hey, the calendar didn't pull, so it's not exact because it's missing stuff off the phone, and it'll tell us that.
All right. And so it doesn't necessarily cause you to reject the report.
No, because not on the phone. Again, when we talk about forensics dealing with computers, I know I'm going for a one-for-one match off a computer because that hard drive isn't changing. With the phone, I have to turn the phone on. So just simply turning the phone on, it's going to change. It has to because we turned the phone on. We can't take it from a dead state. We minimize what we do with the phone to make changes, but then once that phone is turned on, it's got to be on. And every time you turn it on, it's recognizing I'm on now. There's a powering event that happens, so that changes a little bit. So we just document what changes when we turn it on. If there's anything we have to touch with the phone, we just document that, hey, I had to make these changes in order to extract this data. It doesn't change the user data that we pull. It's just the system data, hey, I was powered on today.
Okay. Or a password was punched in.
Right, exactly, if we're given a passcode.
All right. And so once the data is extracted, where is it stored?
It's stored either I extract it to a flash drive or another hard drive or my computer system.
And then do you do the data that's stored on the computer system or the flash drive, is that the raw data or is it the report?
If it's exported as a report directly from somebody, it'd be the report, but other than that, it'd be raw data.
And then from that, do you create what we call a Cellbrite report?
Yes, sir.
And then do you transfer that data onto a disk or a medium that can be brought to court?
That's correct, yes.
I'd like you to just take a look at State's Exhibit number 2, which has not been previously admitted. And can you identify that, please?
This would be the DVD that I created with the report on there.
All right. And do you recognize that DVD as the Cellbrite report, the Cellbrite report for the phone that you were asked to download?
Yes, sir.
All right. We have some items that I'd like you to take a look at that have been previously admitted, and they are State's Exhibit 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. And for the purposes of this question, I'd like you to take a look at those, and can you identify those photographs as coming from the phone that was downloaded on the date of November the 2nd, 2013, by consent?
Yes, sir, they were.
All right. Is there any identifying data on that paper that tells you that, or does it just identify the message itself?
Well, the messages, are there, and they match up to the messages that I pulled from my report.
Okay.
So these are MMS messages that match up to the messages that I pulled from my report.
Right.
From the phone.
And so you're confident that those are at least some of the data that was pulled off the Samsung phone?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to, first of all, Your Honor, at this time we would move to tender State's Exhibit number 2 as the original disk containing the Cellbrite report of the voluntary download of the defendant's sister's telephone, which has previously been testified to.
Any objection? States 2 is admitted without objection.
Having looked at those exhibits, I'd like you to take a look, first of all, at State's Exhibit number 2E. Can you take a look at that and identify it, please?
It's a MMS message.
Right. And can you tell whether it was attached to any of the other messages that have been previously admitted?
It was, because this is from the report, from the Cellbrite report, so it'll sequentially number the text messages. It'll sequentially number the MMS message, the pictures, everything in the report's numbered. So this is number, number 5 and 6. So it's a MMS message with these pictures attached, and then a reply back to that.
All right, and in the Cellbrite report, does it list both incoming text messages and outgoing?
Yes, it does.
Does it designate the messages as incoming or outgoing?
Yes, it does.
And does it also identify who might be the sender by their telephone number?
Yes, sir.
Does it also identify either the sender or the receiver by any name that's assigned to them in the telephone?
If they're in the contacts list assigned, yes, sir.
Let me move on to State's Exhibit number 2G. Can you look at that and identify that?
Yes, sir. These are text messages or SMS messages.
And are they extracted and digested from the report that's referred to in State's Exhibit number 2?
Yes, sir, they were.
And are they sequentially in order?
Yes, they are.
And do they appear to identify either the number where the text originated or where it was sent from?
It does.
I'd also like to have you look at State's Exhibit number 2F. Can you identify that?
These are more text messages.
All right. And were they extracted from the report contained in 2A?
Yes, they were.
And first of all, I didn't ask you on State's Exhibit number 2E, 2F, and 2G. Did you extract and prepare those documents for purposes of bringing them to court?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right.
Yep.
And so tell the jury about extracting and creating those documents. How are you able to do that?
Either from the original report, I can then extract those documents, or I can reopen that case, that file up in Physical Analyzer or Cellbrite and reprint those or organize those reports.
Okay, so at that point, is it essentially working with a word processing document to remove already existing data and put it in a format that is intelligible?
Correct, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move for admission of State's Exhibit number 2E, number 2F, and number 2G, which is a 2-page document, which all contained the text of text messages that were sent or received from the phone of the defendant's sister.
Any objection? States 2E, F, and G are each admitted without objection.
Investigator Ford, as part of your duties as an investigator with the district attorney's office, is it part of your job to prepare exhibits for court from essentially raw evidence?
Yes, sir, it is.
And have you in the past created documents like the ones we've just identified that so that they can be presented in court?
All the time, yes.
All right. I want to show you first of all one of the discs.
Far left. On top of the
This disc. Now, does that disc contain more than one report from this case?
No, it's just Amon's phone data.
Okay, that is Iman's phone data.
Yes, sir.
And how was that obtained, to your knowledge? Was it done by consent or with a search warrant?
I believe that one's done with a search warrant.
And that has been previously admitted, but what I'd like to do is show you what we've had marked as State's Exhibit number 30.
Yes, sir.
And can you identify it, and then I'll show it to council.
Right, that's my flash drive that I created.
All right. Before we go into how that was created and what it shows, I'm sorry, 30A was the document that was the item you just identified.
Yes, sir.
If you could confirm the number, the writing's better than my brain.
38, correct. Yes, sir.
All right, going back to 3A, I'd like to talk about the creation of 30A. I'm sorry. Why did you create, you said it was your thumb drive.
Yes, sir.
First of all, did you actually create that thumb drive through an extraction from some database? Or maybe I'm using the terms wrong. Maybe it'd be better if you just told the jury how you created.
So the report on this thumb drive is from the original evidence from this search warrant case, or the phone here. So I went and got the original data extraction that was done in 2013. I took that extraction, validated that it was the same. I took another copy, validated that copy was the same as the original. I then took that data extraction and put it back into Cellbrite, because we're talking 5.5 years later. 5.5 years later, there's a lot of upgrades, updates to the system, to the software. It does a lot more features. It recognizes more data. The data is the same, and it was always there, but now the software can do more with that data. It recognizes the file system better. It can parse the data out in a format that's more readable. One thing I didn't like with the original report from 2013 was everything was in UTC 0 time, which is basically Greenwood Miller's time over there. So it's everything.
Is that what sometimes is referred to as Greenwich Mean Time?
Right, exactly. Sorry, I was trying to say that. So everything was in UTC 0. So we had to subtract -4, -5, depending on the time of the year, on all our time zones and all our extraction report. So I could adjust that time to be Eastern time zone, and then it's easier to read. Another thing I saw was the text messages were parsed out differently, as far as it wasn't in a conversation view, so it was harder to follow. It was all, these people said this, and these people say this, and the dates kind of went back and forth. It just made it in an easier conversation view when I redid it in the new updated software.
Now, talking about redoing it, is the process by where you adjust the UTC or Greenwich Mean Time frame to our time frame, and the process of realigning the text messages, is that done automatically?
Yes, sir, through the software.
And so again, you basically ran a current Cellbrite on old data, is that?
I just had the software look at the old data and then reparse it out.
All right. And so when you ended up, in particular to the text messages, did we ask you to print out both text messages and photographs as part of your presentation here today?
Yes, sir.
All right, and did you create the documents that I'm about to show you in terms of the photographs and the text messages that were recovered from Iman's phone?
I did, yes.
In that, Your Honor, we would move for admission of State's Exhibit number 30A, which has been identified and testified to as the original document of, it is a copy of the original Selbright report contained in Exhibit number 30.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 30A is admitted without objection.
All right. As part of the request that was made to you to prepare this case for court, were you asked to create a document that showed all of the messages that were sent or received from Iman's phone for the month of October into the early part of November of 2013?
Yes, I was.
And did you in fact do that?
I did, yes.
Did you then break those messages down into various formats, including all the SMS messages and then all the photographs, or did you just, how did you do that?
I, again, broke it down to various formats, and then what was requested of me, I can then print from those formats.
I'd like to show you what's been marked as 30B. Can you go through that and identify it?
Right, so yes, these are text messages that I printed out.
And is that labeled SMS messages at the top?
Yes, sir.
Indicating that's what that document contains?
Yes, sir, it is.
Are they set up in both outgoing and incoming calls?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, just a second.
Okay. How's everybody doing over there? Okay, good.
I'd like to show you what's been marked Exhibit 30C. Can you look at that and identify it?
They're incoming call logs.
All right, these are call logs, and is it labeled incoming calls?
Yes, they are.
Does this contain any of the content of the call?
No, it does not.
And so when you say it's a call log, what does it show?
It shows the time that it was, the call was made, and then usually duration, and then from where the call came from.
I'd like to show you what's been marked Exhibit number 30D. Can you identify that?
And these are outgoing call logs.
And did you create that document, and what does it show as far as the data that it contains?
Yes, it shows just the phone number, if there's a contact name assigned with the phone number, the time, and then the duration of the call.
I'd like you to take a look at 30E. Can you identify that document, and did you create that report?
These are the missed call logs. So again, the party, the phone number, the time that the call came in, and then usually there's no duration because it was a missed call.
And again, Exhibit number 30F. Can you identify 30F?
This is just unknown calls that were came in the unknown call logs.
All right, can you tell the jury why is it designated as an unknown call?
If it's unknown, usually there's no name assigned to it, or if it's just not answered, or it doesn't know it had to designate that where it came from.
And so what you're talking about is it's designated by the system, by the phone, as an unknown.
Right, because it doesn't know how to categorize it.
You didn't have anything to do with designating that as an unknown call.
No, sir.
I'd like to show you what's been marked. We're making a mess here, so I'm going to pull this. I'd like to show you what's been marked as 30G. Can you identify that, and did you create that document?
Yes, it's a MMS message with the pictures attached to it.
And then 30H, can you identify that?
I guess another message, MMS message with a picture attached to it as well, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move for admission of State's Exhibit Number 30B, 30C, which is identifying as the incoming call logs, 30D, the outgoing call log, 30E, which is the missed call log, and 30F, which is the unknown call log for Iman Moss's phone.
Okay. Any objections?
No objection, Your Honor.
States Exhibits 30B, C, D, E, and F are each admitted without objection.
We would also move for the admission of State's Exhibit Number 30G, which has been identified as an MMS multimedia message that was received by Iman Moss's phone.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 30G is admitted without objection.
And 30H, we would move for admission as an MMS message that was received by Iman Moss's phone.
Any objection?
No objection.
States 30H is admitted without objection.
Investigator Ford, I'd like to take a minute and go into the content of State's Exhibit Number 30B, which is the full list of the text messages that were contained in Iman Moss's phone for the month of October through early November. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you created that document yourself, is that correct?
I did, yes.
And does it contain the text of those text messages?
Yes, sir.
And are the messages sequentially ordered?
They are, yes.
What is the chronological order of that report?
For this report is from the latest date backwards.
All right, so the earliest text messages would be at the back of the report, is that right?
That's correct.
All right, if you will, I'd like you to go to the last page of the report. And if you could read, if you could identify text message number 77 by telling who it's from and what the content of it is.
Number 77
Yes, sir.
is from a phone number of 678-471-6469, and the contact name is associated as Sexy Wifey.
And what does the text message say?
It says, I told her last night that if it starts itching, do not touch it because that means it's healing.
All right. I'd like you to go up to the top of that page to text message number 70.
All right.
Can you tell us who that was from?
That's from the contact name Sexy Wifey.
And what is the content of the text message?
So Amani boo-booed while at the computer and wiped herself with her hands and spread her shit all over the mouse pad.
Do both of those indicate that they were read or missed?
That they were read.
If you can go to the next page from the back and look at text message number 63. Can you tell who that is from?
Yes, sir. The contact name is Sexy Wifey.
And can you tell us the date of that text?
That is on October 10th, 2013.
And does it indicate that it was read?
It was read, and it also indicates that it was deleted and recovered.
Can you read the content of that text message?
Yes, sir. Amani burned her damn legs. I put aloe on them and put her in the room. SMH, shaking my head. She dropped her tub water on them.
Can we move up to text message number 62?
Again, from Sexy Wifey. She said she wanted to see what would happen.
Can you tell us the date? First of all, can you go back to 63 and tell us what time that was?
That was at 4:21 p.m.
And what was the time of 62?
So the first one was 4:21:47 seconds p.m. and the other one was 4:21:48 p.m.
What if anything does that tell you?
They're just rapid text coming in.
Right. So it would be message, 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 message,
Right.
That type of text.
Yes, sir.
If you could, if you would go to text number 51, which is approximately 3 pages from where we've been.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you tell us who that text message was from?
The contact, sexy wifey.
And what was the date and time of that text?
It was October 13th, 2013.
Does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
Does it indicate that it was deleted?
Yes, sir.
Can you read the content of that?
And your child picked at her ass, not to mention picked at her face, SMH.
Are you familiar with texting jargon, I guess is the word?
I try to keep up, yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any idea what SMH
I
means?
usually shaking my head.
All right. If you could move up to 48, text number 48.
Yes, sir.
Who was that received from?
Again, from the contact, sexy wifey.
And what was the time and date of that?
October 14th, 2013 at 4:43:06 p.m.
Does it indicate that it was read?
It does, yes.
And can you read the content of that?
Amani boo-booed on the rug and refused to get it up, so I'll let you tell her, SMH. I'm not doing this with her today. Maybe she'll listen to you.
Can you go to the next page forward? And I'd like you to look at text message number 44. All right, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, can you tell me who that was received from?
From sexy wifey.
And the date and time of it?
October 15th, 2013 at 11:49:12 a.m.
Does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And can you read the text of that?
I'm sorry, babe. I told you I wouldn't call or text you at work with Amani's BS. I was just frustrated. SMH, my bad, though. I hate stressing you at work. Won't happen again.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes, sir.
If we could move up that page, Investigator Ford, to text message number 38.
I'm there.
Can you tell us who that was sent and the date and time of the sending?
Sent from sexy wifey at October 17th, 2013 at 10:58:21 a.m. It was read, and its message states, "Hey, babe, Britt is coming to pick up Tristan up to take him to a movie at around 3. Need you to open the gate."
If you can go back to if you can go forward one page, please. If you can go to text message number 32, can you tell us who sent that text message?
Sexy wifey.
And at what date and time?
October 19th, 2013 at 4:43:05 p.m.
And does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And what does the message say?
It says, so we don't need to go to get the crutches today then.
I don't think it says crutches.
Oh, I'm sorry, couches, yes.
If you can go forward one page, please.
Yes, sir.
And look at message number 25.
Got it.
Can you tell us who that was sent from?
From sexy wifey.
And what was the date and time?
October 22nd, 2013 at 2:41:04 p.m.
And does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And what does it say?
Hey, babe, can you bring home diapers and pull-ups? Tristan has 3 and Emma has 3.
If you go forward chronologically in one page, please. Can you look, first of all, at text message number 14?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell who that was sent from?
From Sexy Wifey,
And what date was that sent?
October 28th, 2013 at 6:28:43 a.m.
And does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And what does it say?
Tristan is sick. He has a high fever and the chills. I gave him some Tylenol. He can barely move. He's so weak. And then an emoji for a sad face.
Can you go up one message to text message number 13?
Yes, sir.
Who was that from?
Sexy Wifey.
And what time was that sent?
That was October 28th, 2013 at 6:29:24 a.m.
Does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And what does it say?
Emma has a slight fever also. She isn't as bad as Tristan, though.
All right. If you'd move up one message to message 12, can you tell us who that was from?
Sexy Wifey.
And at what time and date was it sent?
October 28th, 2013 at 6:30 a.m.
And does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And what does the text message say?
And I feel like I'm getting sick. Whatever you had spread through this house like a wildfire, SMH.
And finally, if you would go to the first page and look at text message number 4. Can you tell who that was sent by?
It was sent from Sexy Wifey.
And what was the date and time of that?
That was November 1st, 2013 at 3:03:21 p.m.
What does it indicate that it was read?
Yes, sir.
And what does it say?
My bad, babe. I was on the phone with Amani's teacher. Amani wouldn't even talk to her, SMH.
My last question, Investigator Ford, in the document that we've just referred to, the 30B, I think.
Yes, sir.
How many total messages did you recover for the month of October into early November?
$87.
All right, so there are 8, and they are numbered sequentially from latest to earliest for that time period, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Investigator Ford, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Cross-examination. May this witness be excused.
I moved it.
That's fine.
No, that's all the questions.
May the witness be excused, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, he has another trial.
You're excused, sir. Thank you for coming. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state this time is going to call Investigator Flynn. I do anticipate his testimony will be lengthy. I did not know if you wanted to take a morning break now or start his testimony and then take one a little bit later.
That's fine. We'll go ahead and take an early break. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember the instructions I've given you previously. Do not discuss the case with anyone. Do not allow anyone else to discuss the case with you or in your presence or hearing. Do not even discuss the case amongst yourselves. Do not attempt any independent research or investigation into any aspect of the case. Do not read or listen to any accounts of the case that might appear in the news media. You're welcome to go out with our bailiff for a 10-minute break.
Leave your attachment on your seat, please.
Our jury's out. You're welcome to be seated. We'll take a 10-minute break. Thank you.